All right, so let me bring up a couple players that the Sixers could take at 28.
Okay.
And you tell me if you watch them.
Okay.
Let's start with. He's probably not gonna. Did you watch Trey Murphy?
I don't know. I only have notes on like a few more guys, and he's not one of them.
Trey Murphy, I have at 11. Actually, he's pretty high. He's a super athletic 3-and-D guy. Mikal Bridges, like down the middle, like kind of more Cam Johnson-y actually than Mikal. But really athletic. Went to Virginia. Any guy that like decides to go to Virginia, I think has like, and any guy as athletic as he is that decides to go to Virginia, I'm like, good head on your shoulders. Like you have to really love basketball to go play for Tony Bennett over there. I think he's just going to be really solid. And he threw down some like crazy athletic dunks at Virginia. I think he'll probably go in like the late teens, early 20s. But if the Sixers love a guy, they could step up for him. What about? Did you watch? Here's a guy that people talk about a lot. Did you watch much Bones Highland tape at VCU?
No, I feel like I should have remembered it if I did. What a name! Is his
cool.
real name Bones?
No, his name is Nishan, but he goes by Bones because he was skinny as a kid.
Okay.
He's the man. He had a very, very interesting and heartbreaking story. I think he came up through some foster care situations, and just like worked his ass off. And he's 6'3" with like a 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. I think there's some Emmanuel Quickley to his game. He's skinny for sure, and he's a put on weight, but he's a legit shooter. Can hit from everywhere all over the court. I really like him a lot. He's a guy that a lot of people have pegged to the Sixers at 28. Went to VCU, and which is also a bummer because VCU was the only team that got kicked out of the tournament had to forfeit because of COVID last year. And actually forfeited to Chris Duarte's Oregon team, so they got to advance without having to play a game. Jared Butler. Did you watch any Jared Butler?
Probably not on my list.
Okay, so Jared Butler was the other guy, was the team leader on Baylor's championship team. Very Malcolm Brogdon-y for a couple reasons. One, that he's very like controlled and an excellent shooter, but maybe not quite big enough, or maybe not crazy dynamic enough. He's a little faster, but a little smaller than Brogdon. But also, the reason Brogdon fell is because he had these degenerative knee conditions that people kept talking about behind the scenes. Jared Butler has this heart condition that he was ruled unable to play for a little bit, and then they cleared him. It's a similar thing that happened to Chris Bosh. And so, especially with COVID, there's just concerns about, like, will he be able to play? Is there, like, a ticking clock on him? But hopefully they caught it early enough, because he's a really special kid and, like, a very, like, impressive kid to just, like, listen to. I think they call him, like, they called him the president or something. Like, it's really similar to Brogdon in those kinds of ways. And he's an excellent shooter. He'll get bullied a little bit on defense because of his size, but he's smart, plays hard. Really was the guiding force of that team, and is a really special dude. Let's see. Did you watch any Trey Mann?
Nothing. The two players I have notes on are
you do yours.
Just Sharif Cooper and Joelle Ayali.
So weird, the guys that you watch. It's always so bizarre. Ayali is going to be like a mid-second round pick. He's going to be like nothing.
I like him. Well,
he's fine. He's a role player in college who never really got better at anything. He might make it as just like a two-way guy and be good enough, but there's not a ton of excitement there.
Some of Sharif my surprises have made it. Sharif is sick handle, great passer.
Yeah.
Love him. Yeah.
Sharif is ridiculous. He's a point guard. Went to Auburn, was not playing the first half of the season, and Auburn just looked like shit. And then I think he became eligible, and immediately, like, that team started popping. He is one of the best passers in the draft. Incredible, can get to the paint whenever he wants. The question is, he just can't. He like, more than can't shoot, he just like doesn't shoot. And he's just so impressive doing everything else, but he doesn't really play defense either. And so I've been burned by small guards too many times.
Yeah.
For me to be like all in on him, but visually love him. Very fun to root for. Very fun to watch. Makes incredible passes, and like is just so quick. That guy and smart. That guy just cannot stop him from getting wherever he wants to on the court. But he might just be too small to play NBA basketball. I'll just run through a couple other guys that I like for the Sixers. Cam Thomas is a guy who went to LSU. Total sixth man vibes. You've never seen him pass. Doesn't really think about defense very much, but like looks good, doing his thing, can break guys down off the dribble, good shooter, powerful player, even though he's not crazy athletic, but I think he'll just, the very Jordan Clarkson mold, and a guy that would be helpful here for sure if he ends up going here. Trey Mann went to Florida. He's Terrence Mann's younger brother. Keeps growing, so he's like 6'4"-ish. Not that long, not that athletic, but a great shooter. And would be a nice, in a world where it's Simmons still, would be a nice point guard off of a Simmons team. Who else should we talk about? So other guys I'm thinking about is like what I said before of like drafting a project. I think the Sixers don't have they have a deep bench of young guys that are exciting, right? So Maxi's exciting. Obviously, I think he's going to be the starter next year. Isaiah Joe is exciting as a role player that could pop a little bit. Rajon Tucker is a project that they might see something in. B-Ball Paul, obviously. But they don't have and Matisse is obviously already in the rotation, but they don't have the big, they should be looking for their Michael Porter Jr. Find me the guy that falls in the draft that we don't really need to play right now, but if he gets there, then that would be special. And the Sixers are in the position where they can do that. And so I think that there's guys in the draft that are of that mold. I think Maxey was a little bit like that last year, just a guy that dropped because of whatever concerns, and the Sixers were fortunate enough to be we don't need him that much right now. They turned out to need him, but at the time they didn't. So a guy like Zaire Williams, who went to Stanford, had a bad season at Stanford, didn't shoot well, but has some creation ability, some looks a little bit like Jaden McDaniels, who went to Washington, or his brother. I always mix it up. His brother Jalen went to San Diego State, but played for Charlotte, and his brother played for Minnesota. Just immediately good. And even though the shot for Zaire is a work in progress, he has a lot of number one option vibes to him. It just will take him some time to get there. And I think he's in the book on him is that he's a kid who works hard and everything. So I think that Zaire is a guy that the Sixers could draft and then add to a package and go hey, he could be the next, Kevin Porter Jr. kind of thing that all of a sudden becomes a more valuable piece in the trade. So I like him a lot as an undervalued guy at 28. A couple other guys I'll just throw them out because you're falling asleep. Deuce Mcbride is the man, but I think he's a little too similar to Tyrese Maxey. But I think he's going to be a good player. I love point guards that defend from West Virginia, Javon Carter. And he's a better shooter than Javon is. JT Thor, which is a cool-ass name, who's a 6'8" shooter with some creation abilities also and could defend really hard. At the next level, I'm excited about him. He was on the receiving end of a lot of Sharif Cooper passes. And then there's guys that I like as a potential stretch five for Joelle. I don't know that I would take any of them at 28, but in the 50 range, looking at maybe Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who went to Nova as a small ball five that could become a decent rim protector. Philip Petrushev, who went to Gonzaga and then went overseas. Isaiah Todd, who played for the G League team. Jay Huff, a little shot blocking from Virginia. Charles Bassey, who has a developing shot, but not as good as I would want it to be. And he's big as hell and will rebound and play. But it's a good draft. It's exciting. They better make at least one pick. Even if they can trade 28, it's fine. I've accepted it. But you got to give me somebody. Come on.